Hi Scorpio, here's a general look at your solar chart for October 2011. Now, the energies show a strong pull towards things going on behind the scenes or inwardly. So that might mean that you're feeling more introspective and self-reflective for some of this month anyway, and also distracted or scattered perhaps a little bit, or not quite certain how things are going to go. Watch out that you don't let pent-up frustrations lead to counterproductive behavior, because as a matter of fact emotions can be a little bit bubble up to the surface really, and you do something which tends to shoot you in the foot. So anyway, a good way to use this energy at the moment in a positive kind of a way is to be introspective for gathering the material that you find there and going into the inner planes, and using that wonderful intuition of yours and your deep perception, which is kind of almost like laser-like perception, of going in for spiritual practices, yoga, meditation, or psychic development, or using your psychic ability, your healing ability. So all of that can be working well. Also your imagination, Scorpio, your artistic ability. But of course the world doesn't go away, and there's an awful lot going on outside. So in fact you can't stay in there, because there is going to be quite a lot going on outside of you and around you, and sometimes quite unpredictable influences around you, just putting a pressure on you, putting a demand on you. Now, it just so happens that during the first half of October, we are getting an interaction very much with the longer transit of Saturn. And Saturn, you may have heard me speak about this before, but Saturn's in a very, very long cycle in the area that's being lit up in your chart over October, and that long cycle is due to end next autumn 2012, but it is very much about what I've just been talking about, your inner life, your emotional baggage, but also the past, tying up loose ends from the past, cleaning up everything and deciding which way you want to go in your future, and really being there as a support for others, being there as a provider of a service for others, and so not a lot of space for you to be ego-centered, really, with where Saturn is. Learning how to be humble, learning how to hold the vision of what you're really doing here in the first place, as well as any of us ever can, and being quite dogged and consistent about doing that, and giving of your time, of your effort, of your service, in a way which is taking you somewhere on your path, of course, but you're not making an issue out of it being incredibly successful or lucrative. Now, it might be. I'm not saying it wouldn't be. But that isn't the key issue here. The key issue here is for you to be reliably and consistently there for some bigger cause or some other person or something which is bigger than you anyway, and giving of your skill, your talent, your energy, your attention to that. And that long Saturn cycle is being triggered over particularly the first half of this October. So now there's lots of other things going on as well. All month, Mars is in an area to do with authority figures, and it's also it's an area which is quite highly visible You might feel scrutinized. You might know that you've got to come up to certain standards. You've got to show a certain side which is making a good impression. You've got to show that you can be dynamic and competent and efficient. It might be related to career, it might be related to bosses, it might be related to parents, it's just related to those in so-called positions of power. And you'll have a tendency to want to push forwards, to be assertive, particularly in cooperative or group efforts. But some of you is coming from the background, particularly in the first half of the month. Maybe certain things aren't absolutely clear up until just around about mid-month. So you have to go on faith, you have to go on gut instinct, and of course your gut instinct is well renowned, Scorpio. So if you feel that others are relying on you, and they very well might be, then you have to meet that commitment as best you can. We can only ever do things as best we can, and we mustn't be unfair on ourselves. I'm not talking about you being unfair on yourself, or bending over backwards, or suffering, or being a martyr. You've got to try and tread this fine line to meet these energies, and I'm talking about energies. You'll know the actual conditions, and seeing how that fits with you. So there will be various strengths and degrees of this energy depending on your natal chart. So others could be relying on you. You might have to put your own desires on one side temporarily, to make yourself just there and available to fit in with them and the bigger picture. But you're feeling more reflective. You might have to keep a weather eye on things from the background. You should be listening to your inner guidance, because it's strong at the moment, very strong. And just maybe be, as I say, a bit more reflective. Reflect upon the past, think about tying up of the loose ends. Go chill out as much as you can. Take breaks as much as you can. Go in for self-nurturing therapies, practices, activities, even for half an hour. As much as you can, which brings stillness to your mind. Now, a watched kettle never boils, and it's best for you to trust that there's support coming from the realms beyond, and just do your bit down here at the sharp end. Hold the vision, stay clear inside. You've got a responsibility to yourself. Follow an intuitive hunch. When you feel it really, really kind of shouting at you, or when it comes into your mind maybe 3 times in a row, that's usually a good rule of thumb. Now, from the 13th, then you're going to be mentally sharper. You're going to see the way ahead a bit more. That's beginning from the 13th. Until the 13th, it might be a little bit, things are hanging fire, I'm not quite sure, uncertain, it's a bit confusing, don't quite know. Then from the 13th, you get, things will start to come into focus, I think. You'll be more mentally alert, you'll be sharper, you'll be mentally, mental process will accelerate, you have more in your mind. And from the 9th, just before the 13th, you should begin to feel more appreciated by those around you. It's as though up until the 9th, you've got to keep your cards close to your chest, watch what you say or just don't say with certain people. But then from the 9th, you feel this relaxing energy coming in there, and you feel more appreciated. It's very likely you could feel more appreciated from there. Continue listening, though, to your inner guidance and steering according to, what your compass bearing is giving you. You could even be getting an admiring glance or two from the 9th onwards, Scorpio, and that's until the end of the month. It's more likely after mid-month, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't happen, because you're kind of a charismatic character anyway, if it didn't happen earlier. Now, from the 9th is the start of a very sociable, much more sociable time for you. You're not so inward, you're not so kind of keeping a space between you and it or them or whatever. You're not so in your feelings and your emotions. particularly from the 13th, but it begins on the 9th. And you've learnt a lot by being in this bubble within yourself, but still you're coming into this more extrovert time. There'll be more opportunity for you to get out there, to be noticed, to provide this service that I was talking about, because it still is running parallel with the long Saturn cycle for a little bit in October. Relationships of all kinds are going to be emphasized from the 9th, working ones, and personal ones, of course. So people skills are going to be important, communication skills are going to be important. Someone could take a shine to you, could boost your ego, could boost your morale, could boost your credit rating, expand your social circle. You could be feeling better in your skin, and that's very good for any kind of business transaction, buying, selling, or job hunting, or anything like that as well. That's from, as I say, from the 9th. And your mind gets a lot clearer from the 13th, and so from the 9th until the end of the month. Another way this can work is that you want to treat yourself to something, give yourself a break, and that should be going on from the 9th as well. From the 23rd, the way should be clearer to pursue what's important to you personally, Scorpio, because the Sun will be coming into your sign, and also there's going to be a new moon in your sign, and that's on October the 26th. And that means there's going to be a chance for you to reinvent yourself to whatever degree is up to you, and for others perhaps to be seeing you in a different light, beginning from the 26th onwards and over the subsequent 4-week period. Now Jupiter is in your opposite sign and will be there until June. This is a very long cycle of Jupiter, meaning that your eyes are going to be opened by your interaction with people from very different cultures and backgrounds to your own. It will encourage you to take a broader, more philosophical view in your personal and close working relationships, but you're going to be learning a lot from people that you are working with or hanging out with, and or just connecting with, maybe over the wires, giving you a very different slant on things, and providing more opportunity for expansion in your life. And in fact, if you work with the public, then your popularity could be growing, but also working in one-to-one situations, you could very much yourself be seen as a teacher or a guide or an advisor to others. In fact, it's very expansive. You could be expanding a relationship, bonding very, very strongly with somebody, really feeling a rapport with somebody, but just don't expand too far, too fast, and keep at least 1 foot on the ground at all times. Now Uranus will be transiting your sector of work and health for many years, meaning that you're going to have to maybe sometimes experience being going into an alternative or area, or going right on to the fringe of the service that you are providing for others, or the way you do your work, or the technology you're using at work, getting your head around new bits of kit. Maybe it's not to do with your service, maybe it's to do with the equipment that you're having to steer and work with, but also it could also be to do with you working in a more team kind of corporate environment. A previous structure could be replaced more than once with a new one as well, because Uranus is about change and transformation. And you Scorpios born October the 24th to 27th, or those with the first 3 degrees of Scorpio rising, will be feeling this influence most strongly this month. And what I should have said and what I didn't say is there could be sudden changes in health as well. So it can be like a reversal, and it can happen more than once. So it can mean that you feel ambushed by a sudden health problem, and because you are this very stubborn, deeply willful sign of the zodiac, you could also bring about a reversal to get that put right, out of yourself, or because you know who to go to help you out. So it could be health related. It could mean that you will be familiarizing yourself with very different remedies or ways of exercising or eating or practices to help with healing, or even if there isn't a health problem, and there doesn't necessarily have to be one at all, then just maintaining a good level of health. Uranus is a very quirky, strange, unusual, unconventional energy, and it just means that your best bet with any health problem or health challenge is to go, like, travel the road, walk the road less travelled with that one. And it is quite extraordinarily energy of transformation as well. Neptune is reversed into Aquarius and will be there until February next year, renewing uncertainty about with whom you belong, where on the map you belong. Some of you may be thinking about changing country or changing relationship or changing job, but whatever you're doing, just make sure you've got a firm boundary line on your private space. Don't let others tread on that boundary. You Scorpios born 21st to the 22nd of November, or the last couple of degrees of Scorpio rising, or you Scorpios born early, right at the very first day, right around about the 24th of October, with 1 degree of Scorpio rising, will feel this influence mostly this month. And for many years, Pluto, your ruling planet, continues to evolve you through travel, education, communications, language, media, and your natural intuitive ability, your natural ability to be extremely intensely perceptive, Scorpio. And you Scorpions born 26th to 30th of October, or with 3 to 6 degrees of Scorpio rise, are going to feel this vibration most strongly this month. And that's it for October. If you know your rising sign, listen to that too. Also your moon sign, you might like to try that, see how it fits, and it'll either add to or subtract from what I've said here. And I'll see you the next time.